several clients. I have several clients who are right now looking for 1031 exchange properties. So I want to put that out there for folks, and we'll go through that. So I usually take this opportunity to go through some of my some of the listings we currently have on the market. So this first listing, so we'll start here on the right, 5369 West Pico is actually in escrow. We are in the process of, we are doing inspections right now, and we are looking at backup offers. It's a production studio space, a little over 5,000 square feet. It's in Pico and Fairfax area. And so we're in escrow on this. I'm actually still showing it though, for backup offers. And I'm, so as you can see, it's got a cap rate of 5.32, a GRM of 16.83. So the bottom unit, I'll show you some pictures. The production studio space is owner occupied and will be delivered vacant. This part is the production studio space. The upstairs is currently rented by a private gym. As you can see, we have a lot of folks coming in looking for production space, possible podcasting. I actually showed it to a potential ballroom, client on Friday. This is the upstairs, this is the private gym. They will come with the property. They're paying a little over $3,000. I think it's $3,087 a month. And their lease ends in March 2024, and there are no options. So a lot of people have been pretty interested in this. As you can see, it's pretty central. You can see views of downtown. That's the Hollywood sign in the background. This is looking towards Century City. So very, very, very central. So let me get out of this one and we'll go to another one, which is very pertinent to today's topic, which is, so this is a single family house in West Hollywood, but is part of a triplex. And the owner is looking to sell the house individually as a tenant in common. As Anthony said, we have a bit of a specialty in tenants in common. And so as you can see, the house is kind of, and it's a large house, it's 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 1,900 square feet. And we actually are about to do a price drop on this one. So I think I have this at 1,345, but we're actually doing a price drop to 1,199, so a little under 1,2. And what's interesting about this one is the owner is planning to do a tenant in common potentially, because there are 2 1-bedroom units in the back. But more importantly, there's also a garage that has an ADU potential conversion, which gives her another option to then sell that eventually as a TIC. And we just saw this over in Eagle Rock for the first time, where you had, there's a deal over there right now that's just about to close. And that's exactly what they did. They took several units, they turned them into TICs, and then they sold TIC interests so that each of the units could be sold individually. So this is kind of like definitely becoming more and more popular here in Los Angeles. It's very popular already in the Bay Area. There's thousands and thousands of TIC units there. So this market is just starting to come up. So this is, we did an 8-unit TIC conversion in West Hollywood a couple years back at the Hayworth. So if any of you have any interest in learning a little bit more about TICs, please let me know, or any interest in this property, please let me know. And then this final one is a small office building, about 3,300 square feet in Burbank. And currently it's kind of like 2 units. So 2/3, 1/3, 2/3 about 200 square feet. And then 1/3 about 1,100 square feet. And that is currently occupied at over $3 a square foot. So for those of you who might be looking to owner occupy, looking for an office space, perhaps not in the city of LA, this is an option, and we're doing showings on this pretty regularly right now. So that's kind of what we have on our end. the owner of the Pico building is looking for an exchange. So if if any of you have anything, this kind of goes into need, deals, and wants. So if any of you have a commercial property, they're looking for another kind of studio space that's kind of really well done. Oh, how much was the Burbank property? It's 2,499, 2,499,000. So in terms of, but they're looking for a nice studio space, high ceilings, kind of turnkey, anything 3,000 to I would say 7,000 square feet. They're pretty open to. They're open to multi-tenant as well. They just need one spot to do their own photo shoots. So that's so we're actively looking on the 1031 side. I have another client who's selling a property in Big Bear right now, and she wants to do a 1031 exchange into a multifamily, 2 to 4 units, up to about 1.3 million. Would love something with ADU potential. So that's probably the question I get the most is, does this property have ADU potential? Which is exactly why we have John here to speak about it. So before I turn it over to John, I just want to give everybody an opportunity right now. And there might be some in the chat. Haven't looked, but does anybody have any other needs, deals, and wants? We've done deals in this room. So this is an opportunity for people to talk. Okay. Andrew says, I have a 5-unit for sale in Silver Lake with approved plans for 2 detached ADUs. Okay. Please include that. I'll also include my email in here as well, so that if people have any questions about any of the listings that I mentioned, I'm happy to send over links and more information, OMs and stuff like that. But please, Andrew, please send us whatever information. I'd be interested in taking a look at that for some of my clients. Anyone else have anything that need, deal, and want for yourself or your clients? Occupied triplex in 90062 near Slauson and Van Ness. Okay, very good. Thank you, MY. Anyone else? What's your info, Andrew? Yes. Yeah, please include your info. See, like I said, deals are done in this room, man. If we can make it happen, we try. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to, Anthony's already given a great introduction to John. John, I've known John now for a number of years. I watched his company Brickwork grow. These guys are really, really smart. I mean, they really get like zoning and, and looking at the landscape and figuring out what developers are thinking about doing and what the potential is. And that's the number one question, right? Everybody wants to know is, what can you do with this property? And there are so many rules, as we were just discussing before. Like, there's so many things coming down from Sacramento that it's like almost like a waterfall. It's almost too much for most of us to handle. So that's why we have experts like John come in to speak about these things. And so we're really lucky to have him here, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Will. And hey, everyone. So my name is John. I'm the co-founder of Brickwork, and I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. I have a quick presentation I want to get into. So there we go. Okay, so I want to thank Anthony for the invitation and Will for those kind words. So I just want to get right into it. So our mission is to simplify navigating city zoning laws and regulations, and to empower clients with the knowledge and tools needed to build quality housing. So we're looking to, give me one second here. Oh, okay. So, go back, give me one second. How do I, there we go. Okay, so we help you comprehend city zoning to build apartments. So it's infill multifamily houses. That's under Senate Bill 9. I'll go into that in a little bit, where you're able to build either a single family, a duplex, or 4 units on that R1 lot. And then the ADUs, which we're so happy it's finally taken off. The ADU law started back in 2016, and it took years and iterations. But in 2020, the state law really set some firm guidelines as far as the cities can't kind of get in the way to prevent you with their standards they would issue that would disallow you from building an ADU. So just quick background on the team. My partner Alex runs Irvine Associates. They're a land use consulting firm out of downtown Los Angeles. He's had 16 years experience. He used to work at city planning in downtown, and their team is pretty much comprised of all ex-city planners. So that's kind of where we get all the insight. The idea 4 years ago was Alex wanted to build kind of a map for his clients, which are developers, that could quickly just calculate by right density, and then, hey, does it qualify for TOC or the state's density bonus program? But now with the slew of housing bills, there's much more filtering to go on, and we're working on that as well. But that was the genesis of Brickwork. But ever since, we've realized the bigger opportunity is middle market housing. It's the R1 lots. There's 8 million single family homes in California. They were all restricted to 1 unit density, and that's the issue. And so now with the advent of ADU and now Senate Bill 9, you're getting much more density in these R1 lots. So that's the opportunity we're leaning into. And then I'm the CMO, and I have a background in mortgages, and I started back in 2009 during the crash. So yeah, we're land use experts. We built an in-house GIS map that automates SB9 data for City of LA. City of LA itself has 15 different designations of R1. And then in the R1 itself, there's about 60 plus different floor area ratio, underlying height, setbacks. So it's complicated. It's not like, oh, you look at a property, it's R1, I could build this. Far from that. And that's just City of LA. Blow it up to LA County. There's 88 unincorporated cities within LA County, all of them with their own zoning code and their own specific plans and their own overlays. And it just becomes a nightmare to navigate. So that's really the problem we're trying to solve, is trying to get all of the different municipalities underwritten where, the bottom line for everyone is, okay, I understand there's this overlay and this overlay. What can I build? Can I build it? That's really what we're trying to get to the heart of. And so that's Brickwork. So, the problem is we're not building enough housing, right? So whether you agree with these numbers or not, California is short about 1 million affordable units. The US overall 5 million. That could be 800,000. That could be 3.5 million. Doesn't matter. There's still a grave shortage of affordable housing. And one of the barriers of entry, highly localized, confusing zoning laws, and housing has become politicized, unfortunately. So when you marry the both, really difficult to figure out what you can build. And then obviously you're getting political pushback on building. And then obviously the disruption in the rise in construction costs, interest rates, and the likely recession we're in or we're heading in now. So a lot of issues there. Why I want to bring up the single family rental market is because, you've seen it in the news. Blackstone, Starwood, all these private equity institutional investors during the last real estate crash in 2007 and 8 went out and picked up 10, 20, 30,000 single family homes and turned them into rental properties. There's the additional problem. You're taking away from the inventory and you're turning them into pure rentals. Now you don't have enough inventory for buyers, and then even the renters, if they're owned by one institution, they could control rent, and that becomes an issue as well. So it's a huge market, but why I have the slide up is, again, Senate Bill 9 or ADUs, you're adding to the inventory. You're taking in R1 and you could add 1 additional unit or 4 or 3 additional. So you're converting a 1 to a 4. That, if that scales, and we're pushing for this because there's been so few permits issued in California since the law passed, but we do feel it's gonna start to take hold, just like ADU. It took a couple of years for everyone to get their idea of what they can and can't do, and then start to do that. So look, institutions are currently own 5% of the single family market in the US. Well, how many homes is that? It's 20 million. So 20 million single family homes, they own 5%. They're projected to get to 40%. I think that's a high number and estimate, but it doesn't matter. Even if it's like 20%, that's still a lot. It's still 4x what they own, and they're looking to invest and buy single families as asset class for rental. So obviously it's a huge opportunity for investors. So what is SB 9, Senate Bill 9? So I'm going to cover ADUs kind of in tandem with this, because ADUs SB9 is ADU on steroids. That's really what it is. So ADUs are just a dwelling unit that you can add to a property. Senate Bill 9 took it another level, and you're adding much more square footage, much more units. So that's really how I view it. So Senate Bill 9, SB 9, eliminates single family only zoning, permitting up to 4 homes on a single lot. Well, how many homes are eligible or qualified? The Turner Housing Center at UC Berkeley did a study and said out of the 8.5 million single family homes, 6 million are eligible. That's 6 million homes that technically times 4 is 24 million units, right? But from there, they did a study and said 410,000 are market feasible, meaning there's a higher potential for rental income and the value that's added. 410,000. Now, let me put that into perspective. There's only been now, I bet to date, about 100 or so permits that have been issued in all of California, 100 something. Maybe it's 200. It was 54 in 2022. So it's abysmal, right? So obviously the opportunity is evergreen. There's so much, and it's not too late. That's number one. And for everyone that's listening, whether you're an investor, realtor, developer, whatever that role is, there's plenty of these homes out there that you can do this with. Okay, so this is the city of LA. Sorry if it's coming out a little blurry, but so they've updated their ordinance in end of March, and which is great. I think I give the city of LA an A+. Out of all the cities in California, the city of LA gets an A+. Why? Because they've actually gone above the state minimum. The state minimum is like, oh, you could do 4 units, 800 square feet per unit, all of this stuff. And then the city of LA is like, no, you could build to the underlying zoning. So the property in Silver Lake, if the zoning allowed to build, for example, 5,000 of buildable, and the existing home was only 1,500, right? Because there were a lot of homes built back then where it wasn't the trend to build mega homes. Then you have 3,500 square feet left over to work with, and you could spread that square footage or floor area to the other units that you want to build on that lot. So A+ to city of LA. I'm hoping more cities. There are like 5 cities in the Bay Area that we realized are starting to follow LA suit. But like, come on, LA County, get it together, right? Like, come on, we gotta do this. So okay, so the figure on the left is a duplex and 2 ADUs. This is by right. What I mean by right is you could just build it. It's if it's eligible and it has the floor area and the underlying zoning, of course, that's just how you spread this out. But so in LA, in the city of LA, what they allow is, oh, you build a duplex on the lot, you could add another unit and convert it. I know there's a few architects watching, so I'm not going to get into the weeds of how you're going to design that to conform to LADBS's duplex standards, but obviously you can. So if you can, then the city of LA said, oh, that's a multifamily now. So you can use the multifamily ADU law and build 2 external, and that floor area is not restricted. It's not 800 square feet. It's not 1,200 square feet. It's not even counted in the floor area I was talking about. So in that property, if you had 5,000 square foot buildable, 1,500 is occupied in the existing home, you have 3,500 to work with. The ADUs don't even count in that number. You can actually build beyond that. So again, asterisk, city of LA. West Hollywood's different. I'll cover what West Hollywood's is, and every municipality is different. And then you could build the 2 detached ADUs. Now, why is that first that I mentioned? Because investors or developers could build that and rent them out. There's no owner occupancy triggered at all through that build. The second one is the updated one, which I really like. They updated this in March. You could build 2 single families, and I can say build with the asterisk too. It could just be the existing house that you got rental. You don't have to scrape and demo the existing house. But what I'm saying is you could build 1 more single family on that lot, and then you could build a detached ADU. Now you're getting 3 units by right, not triggering owner occupancy, and these all could be rental properties, right? And then the last one is another update is you could still build the 2. And again, this is just based on what I say to the left and right. A lot of developers I've spoken to in the past year and a half, it's sub-market specific. A duplex ADUs work here where we're at in West Hollywood. It works in Mar Vista. It works in Palms. It works anywhere where there's, Culver City, streaming, Apple, Google, right? There's a lot of tenants in this market. Where doesn't it work? Palos Verdes, Malibu, Hollywood Hills, and in these communities, it doesn't work, right? What works? The 2 single families and the ADU, right? Because that market is more for families, and it's going to be sub-market specific. The last one is a JADU that you can convert 500 square feet, has its own entrance, right? And within the footprint of the house. So the reason why SB9 is so confusing is there's so many ways you could apply this, and there's so many different shaped lots, and there's so many different existing homes and footprints. That's what architects really like, is taking a look physically and just starting to model what's more highest and best use. But on the land use side and the planning side, it's just more like we give you maximums and let you work with what makes sense. And then I know that's a little cut off, guys, but just on the top there, it's urban lot split. And so these are the lot split options. They're not all of them, but we just wanted to feature these, which is the standard split the lot, build 2 single families, split the lot, build 2 duplexes, split the lot, a duplex, and then 2 single families in the back. And then this 4th option I really like is you split the lot, you build a single family and a detached, but then this is in the instance where, look, you want to keep the existing structure. There's nothing wrong with the home. Great. But it's got a lot of square footage, and maybe it's big. So maybe there's a conversion of a JADU that's possible, but you don't have to do that. You could just take that off, split it, and still get the single family and the detached in the backyard. Okay, so I wanted to quickly go over a property. This was listed. It might be pending now, but we love Westchester. Westchester is on fire when it comes to rents per square foot. The rental market, $8,000 for a new single family at 1,600 square feet, $4.35. And that's on the conservative end because you're sharing the lot. I've seen them at 5+, 6+ for rents in Westchester. But you know why? Because it's geographically south of Culver City. So if you're getting a lot of high employment in Culver City, you got to look at the areas where they want to commute from. So this property is existing 1,218 square foot. You want to build 1,600 square feet in the back. You have 2,818 square foot buildable. We're comping it at 887 per square feet. Again, asterisk, I'm not the appraiser. We're just looking at sold comps on MLS. These will all be variable based on developer viewpoint, investor viewpoint. I just needed to come up with some figures to show here. But we did look on the MLS and see sold rentals, or not sold rentals, rented, leased out properties, and then also some sold comps. The kind of question mark here is what appraiser is going to do when you're sharing a lot. That's the thing, right? And I'll go over that in a little bit. But let me just go into, this was the house hacking webinar I did where the new buyer, let's just say from Google, because I have a client working at Google here in LA, 480,000 square foot. They want to build the 1,600 square feet. So at $300 per square foot, comes out to 480,000. The design, the permit fees, roughly around 65,000 because you're just adding the additional single family in the back. Total project cost, 1.7 million. That includes the lien on the first. 1.7, you could get that in the construction and the cash required. The housing payment comes out to around 13,477. That includes PITI, principal interest, taxes, and insurance. And then net the rental, you get a net housing payment, so you save that much. So, sorry. Okay, do I press here, allow recording? Okay. Okay, so in this example, I wanted to go over, so what we were recommending was purchase based on an FHA loan. Again, asterisk is, you got to have income reportable on your tax returns, W-2, salaried, or even self-employed. It's got to be on the tax returns. So, you could put the down payment. You're looking at a 6.25% rate. Your payment there is $9,836. But we also now partnered with like a Connecta Federal Credit Union, U.S. Bank, to do an owner-occupied construction loan that bases what they lend to off of after build value. So as you can see, the post-build value for this with this property, we're saying is $2.5 million. 80% of that could be lent in this scenario. So you're able to finance the entirety of the build, except for the front end cost of design and submission for the permit, but you get paid back on this loan through the draws. So we come up with the rate is 6.875. That's just an example. It could be in this low sevens where rates are right now. But we kind of wanted to just highlight that. And then lastly, so this is a brickwork report. So what we do is we ask you what you want to do. As you saw, there's so many different options for that property, but it's property specific. Maybe at this point, the existing home was newly renovated, recently renovated. Great. Then we'll just show you scenarios of what you can do outside of the home, right? So like in this one, it was converting a garage. Then they had enough space in the backyard to build a 2-story single family house. So we will adjust it based on what the parameters are in that house. And then these are actually, for the architects, they were done either we choose Revit, Rhino, or SketchUp. Either of those 3 architectural software that we provide, that then we do it 3D first, and then we slice it to show the top-down view. So this is what a report looks like. And then 2 quick things I wanted to provide, and now start answering questions. One is SB 450. What this does is it's on the ballot, and we're hoping this gets approved. If it does, it starts to now prevent all those cities, like unfortunately West Hollywood's one of them, but like Glendale and Pasadena and Huntington Beaches of the world and Torrances, which are so anti-SB9. You got to plant a tree, replace the tree. There's all these requirements, right? They all go away. So this allows those municipalities from imposing what they feel are objective standards, and they're not. They're getting away from building an SB9. So that goes away, and they put a shot clock, which I like, just like ADUs. So the cities have 60 days after the time of application to respond, provide feedback, some questions. Sometimes they sit on these submissions for more than 2 months, and that's usual. So now they put a shot clock where it says, well, if you don't do anything, city, sorry, it's auto approve. That's it. So, you'll get an approval in 60 days. Denies the lot split based on physical environment. There's been countless cities that have been trying to do that. And it gives oversight to HCID. This is powerful because if they get authority, it's the housing department, then it's not some arbitrary, oh, it's state law, but it's up to us to interpret what that state law is. No, now HCID has direct authority for this. It's in the ballot, I believe. Yes. This is a Senate bill. Sorry, it is a Senate bill. Yeah. So it's on the ballot. I believe around September is the time that they vote on it. That's what SB9 did 2 years ago, was around September. So I think around September.
You don't vote on it if it's a Senate bill.
Yes.
California legislators are.
Exactly.
It's in committee. It's going to
Yep.
appropriations.
But you can
whatever.
tell them you speak to your representative.
Yeah, that's
Right.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, where is it at? Or not?
The
committee or what? You know who to forward your calls to.
It's in committee, and I really love YIMBY's website because they track the bills. They give you all the contacts and the emails of the representatives that you could start to voice your opinion and support for. So please go on YIMBY, go push this. This has to get YIMBY.org. Yeah, yes in my backyard.org. And then the last thing, AB 881. So this just came. So we're also, and I just got to say, I'm not fully tracking all the bills because there's a lot of infill bills that we're also helping with. 2011, 2334, 2097, so many. So AB 881 came on the radar, eliminates the ability for local governments to impose owner occupancy requirements on ADU. This is huge. I know so many people have been asking for this, increasing the pool of rental properties, right? Clarifies is that garages can be converted because there's some cities that have been saying, no, you can't convert this garage, even though, the state law allows you to. Limits additional criteria that can be used. Yeah, there were some other, there's so many spread out criteria that all these different cities have been. So they've been pulling all of those and adding them to this bill. So yeah, this will be absolutely huge. And then West Hollywood, since we're here, they allow 2 primary dwelling units permitted up to 800 square feet each. So you could do 2 or a total of 0.5 floor area, whichever is greater. Also allows for an additional ADU or JADU on properties that do not utilize the urban lot split. All properties created through a lot split are only permitted 2 units per lot, including the ADUs, and no parking is required. So there's a lot more nuance that I'm just going over, but I just wanted to kind of make it known that we're here ready. That's the point, is that there's so many different things that I didn't cover: side setbacks, the underlying zoning, floor area, parking, all of that stuff, but we cover that in a report. So hopefully this leads you into understanding what the opportunity is for SB9 and also ADU, and that we will be the source to kind of help you do that. So that sample report that I provided is $300 per property. And it's not me doing it, it's the Irvine team that actually does it. So I'm here just to kind of get everyone understanding what it is and wanting to request it. But I can assure you it's the land use team that actually ensures that it's the right information. Double checking, city planning, and even the planners don't know. Just I gotta stress it. We've hit, in the 4 years Brickwork has been around, there's been so numerous cases where the initial planner, junior planner who's heading the planning desk or in charge of the responses or emails got it wrong. We had to go above, wait for the senior planner's confirmation, and then we were right, they were wrong. I'm not trying to put that all on them. They're brand new post urban, masters in urban planning. They're just heading the desk, but that's why there's so much more complication, because there's so many more things to read, and not everyone, even at staff, knows this. But I'm not trying to say that we're experts either, but we at least push and ask and ensure that we're trying to get you guys the right info. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you. That was really, really awesome. As you can see, it's an evolving topic that there are some Senate bills and an Assembly bill that's going through committee now that will make things better possibly. And it's important for us to know what those are and to reach out to your local legislators and your state legislators and let them know what your thoughts are on the bills that are going to be coming before them at some point. Yeah.
Right now, so I can email it to you. You can share with everybody.
That would be great.
She's like in the office in the morning.
Okay. Yeah, send me the facts of the bills and I'll put it out to our group.
What's happening, status, and how.
Where perfect. Yeah. Go ahead, Homan.
Sorry, quick question. So, when the whole ADU ordinance came out, after a group of people, including myself, built the ADU, then it was revealed that having an ADU on an R1 or even R2 land will automatically put you in RSO, zone if the house is built prior to 1978, if I'm not mistaken. Now, what that means essentially is, although the property is classified as single family, immediately after you put an ADU in there, you're going to be banned from some of your owner, rights, including short-term rental, including changing your rent. So my question is, what are the implications of the SB9, developments as it falls under such, restrictions?
Great question. So you're right. LA Housing Department, they anchor the RSO off of that date, pre-1978, post-1978. That's it. that's their conclusion. So they pointed us in the direction of the ADU page in LAHD that goes through all the different scenarios of what happens, right? And then they even SB9 is just housed under ADU, and I get why, because outside looking in, they're two separate bills. Yes, but they're still talking about units and new units being built, whether they're 800 square feet or 2,000 square feet. It's still a unit. So to answer your question, you're right. Any new build, if the existing home, even though it wasn't RSO before, right? So it was just a regular property, not subject to RSO. If the property was built pre-1978, which unfortunately a lot of houses in California, Southern California, are built pre 1978, then what it does is it then makes that dwelling RSO. It puts that dwelling in RSO. The new builds that you build are not subject to RSO. So there is something to say about the strategy of, well, if push comes to shove, let me just build out as much as possible that's not RSO, right? To kind of offset now the property, the existing dwelling being RSO. But is that a perfect answer? No. Right? Like right now, I'm not even moving toward landlord protections, COVID, what's going on, billion plus in back paid rent. Politically, that's a football I don't want to get into, but I will say, look, like I get the perspective of the renter, but what about the landlord too, right? It's a big investment to want to get into multifamily, big down payments, big investment of time. What about them? So that's where I'll leave it. But to answer your question, yes. So any new builds, whether they're ADU or SB9, LAHD are just counting them as the same. Any dwelling that you demo, scrape, add to, we've covered all the different variations. They just said, okay, the trigger will be whatever your new builds will not be subject to RSO. That dwelling that was pre-1978 automatically now becomes RSO when you do that. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, thank you so much for the thorough explanation. And the only thing here, and we do have someone from the city here, it discourages an investor such as myself. I do have single family properties, and I'm an architect myself, and I have plans for an ADU to add. But it discourages me from doing that because it automatically puts the restriction on my main house. So I'm just putting it out there to echo the fact that the whole ADU and all of these ordinances have a good intention to provide more housing, but adding this layer of restriction will actually works against the purpose. Anyway, but thank you so much.
Yeah, of course, I agree.
Just to be clear, it's per city. I'm with the county. The city, you go to your city for this information. Your city creates these ordinances. My office doesn't do that. We're not legislative, we're administrative. So make sure you communicate.
We can't hear anything.
Yeah, can you keep the microphone closer?
That's how LA City sees it, right? But in order to do blanket kind of statements for that covers all the cities, you need to talk to your state legislators, have them write a bill, have them try to get momentum behind something. That's the only way it's really going to happen, unless otherwise it's going to be city by city.
Patricia is asking in the chat. I don't understand what the restriction is on the main house that he's looking. Okay, so RSO is rent control. Sorry. So it's rent control. So actually what it does is just puts a cap yearly on the increases in rent. That's what it does, right? But now that's the problem, is now it was not subject to that cap and rent control, but now it adds it. So that's.
I'll give a very specific example because this happened to me. So I bought a property in Boyle Heights. Originally, it was a single family house just on the lot. Okay. And then the previous owner before I bought it, built 2 units in the back. So a duplex in the back. Now, okay, so there's a single family house, 2 units in the back. Well, previously, when it was just a single family home, it was not subject to rent control, right? Because single family homes are not subject to rent control. However, as soon as the owner put those 2 units in the back, now it's considered a multifamily property. Therefore, the house, which was built during the period of rent control, which in the city of LA is before August 1st, 1978, it was built in 1917. So therefore, the house is now under rent control, okay? The back 2 units were not under rent control originally. Now they are under what's known as AB 1482, which is a statewide law that deals with state rent control. So now those units are now subject to AB 1482. This is a question we get all the time. Like, what kind of properties are subject to rent control? What kind of rent control? How does it work, et cetera, et cetera? As we've discussed, it depends on your jurisdiction. If you're here in West Hollywood, there's one type. If you're in Santa Monica, there's another type. If you're in the city of LA, there's another type. Okay. So it is very confusing for a lot of folks, right? You have city, you have county, and you have state. So obviously, whenever you're looking at a property, make sure you know this stuff as you're going into your inspections, because anytime you want to look at building something, it could affect the rentability of that property, right? So another thing we're seeing on the TIC front, right, on the tenant in common front, is that people are using the Ellis Act. Okay, they use the Ellis Act, which is a statewide law which allows people to pull their units off the rental market. Okay, but what does that mean? That means that if you sell that property, the new owner is still subject to the Ellis Act, which means they're not supposed to rent out that property anymore. And a lot of people don't know that. Okay, so these things are very, very important to consider when you're looking at potentially developing, potentially, think about what restrictions are already on these properties and what could happen if you do build on it. Okay, because there are multiple levels of this. Okay.
What was that act again? And I, it seemed to be very, very important, but I didn't fully grasp,
The Ellis Act. Yes, Andrew just wrote it into the chat. Yes, the Ellis Act is a very important act for those of you who are considering, pulling your units off the rental market. Okay, and there are serious restrictions that come with it. Okay, and just to give you a quick rundown, you basically, for the first 2 years after you use an Ellis Act, if you're planning not to rent out those units anymore, that means the tenants that are there would need to vacate. They would be given a certain, they would be given a reimbursement, which is mandated by the city and the state of how much that would be. Okay. After those tenants leave, for the first 2 years, you absolutely cannot rent those properties out, right? In the 3rd through the 5th year after the Ellis Act has been put in, if you try to rent them out, you have to offer them to the original tenant at the original price that they were in. You didn't know that. Wow, we have a county assessor. Yeah, so the Ellis Act is very, very specific about it. The whole point of it is to discourage renters, owners from pulling them off the market just to get low-paying tenants out. It was actually done after Santa Monica put in their rent control regime. Okay, so there's all these fascinating historical reasons that we have all these various rules.
So when you say with Ellis Act, you take it off the rental market, does that mean you take it off the long-term rental market, but can you short-term rent it, or you cannot rent it?
No, you cannot. No, you cannot. No.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I got a question. John, you had the slide up that had the duplex that was already attached to itself. Will brickwork take a look if there's an attached garage for the potential for a 5th unit?
You mean from the by right duplex and the duplex?
Yeah, and then a 5th for like a conversion of an attached garage.
Great question. We will. I think right now there initially when SB9 passed, what our contact at planning who issued that ordinance said was there might be a way to do 5, right? And we were like, ooh, maybe 6, because you're talking about junior, attached, conversion. There's a way to stretch that. Ever since that point, we haven't come across a request asking for that, but I could check. Yeah, we check all of it. So the way I would put it is there's probably a lot more scenarios that we haven't seen yet, just because it hasn't been requested yet. So we base all of our analysis based on what you guys want to see.
And the interesting thing is in LA, there's so many different size and shaped lots.
There's so many.
We're not just tract homes like in another city. So we're gonna see new
all the time
of this all the time.
Yeah, and what a flag lot looks like. That's a flag lot is basically what LA's answer to. You need access from the back lot to the street, so they allow a little flag strip 10 feet wide to be able to hit the street, and that's the part of the lot that hits the street and goes in the back. What if it's not rectangular? We tried to get around that. It's hard, but it's doable. So just needs review.
And this is recorded, so it will be posted tomorrow. If you go on YouTube and search the Collective Realty, we have all of our multifamily meetups from the past on there. Last month, we had a really great talk on estate planning and why it's so important to have your property in a trust, and all the different nuances that come with that. So take a look at some of our past things. This will be on there tomorrow. Definitely, it's something that I like to review and kind of skim through the next day just to kind of ingrain things on me because it's a lot of information to take in. And John had a great presentation with a lot of good visuals and slides that seeing them again will help you learn it a little more. So take a look at that and do it. And of course, you know, follow our YouTube station for more education and videos, and like it and comment, and all that stuff is just going to help us to keep growing that. We're here every month. Next month we are on, do you know the topic for September? Well, October is our fall carnival and real estate fair. So we're gonna have here at the Collective 20-minute seminars all day long on different real estate related topics. And then outside in the parking lot, we're gonna have free fair food, lots of different real estate vendors, music, DJ, face painting for kids, all kinds of great fair stuff, carnival games that are free. That'll be there. So that's going to happen October 15th. So save that date, October 15th, and that'll be our October meeting. But how about in September?
I think in September, we haven't announced this yet, but I believe we're going to have an appraiser, which will actually be our very first appraiser that we've had come to speak. And the reason I know his name is Glenn Kangas. Glenn Kangas is one of maybe the only or one of the only TIC appraisers that's in the market right now. But he's also just like a regular residential appraiser. So I think he'll be great for all of our residential agents who are looking to really understand, because I think even for agents, the appraisal, I always call it like the artist process. Like we never quite know exactly where this appraisal is coming from, or like, you know, we look at different comps or whatever. And I think it's important to have people, you know, who are professionals. And that's what we try to do at these meetups every time, is to bring people who are like at the top of their field, like John, who really know what they're doing. So I would definitely try to, if you guys can make it, come to the next meetup in September. Glenn Kangas, appraiser.
Awesome. And regarding the real estate fair, we have a few booths left. So if you're interested in like displaying your business at the fair, let me know, and I'll get you all the details and information on how that works. So we'll have probably about 300 people that come through, and we give everybody like a little ticket that they have to get stamped at every booth in order to get free food. So it helps all of our vendors have the opportunity to speak with people and engage.
John, do you want to put your information in the chat? Because I think there are people asking for it actually. Yeah, great. So
yeah, or you can go back to screen share to your slide that has all your stuff.
oh, yeah.
That'd be even better.
Yeah, somebody asked, you can screen share. Oh, is the thing not working? Can we? It works. It works.
Yeah, it's like frozen or something.
Yes. There we go.
Just screen share. No, screen share.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, yeah, I'll just type it in. Do that. Sorry, got it. 1 second.
Anthony, how do you use the brickwork reports? Like, do you add them in your listings, or as an agent, how do you use them?
Yeah, I put it under the document section for realtors to see on the MLS. And then I forward it to people as they come to the open house. I'm like, oh, by the way, if you have a sophisticated enough website for your property, you can put it on there. So sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but normally it's on the document section in the MLS.
John also has a really great podcast, and I only know that because he interviewed me, thank God. But he's got some really great people on there who really know their stuff. So if you have a chance, definitely check out his podcast. Is it on YouTube or is it? It's on YouTube?
Yeah, and our brickwork channel. So you can email me, I'll send you guys links for that. So.
Okay, yeah, definitely check that out, because he's got a bunch of great folks on there that he interviews, some of the biggest names in LA real estate who are doing this stuff. So I would definitely check it out.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, guys. We will see you next month. And in the meantime, check out our YouTube page under the Collective Realty, and we'll see you then. Bye.
Thank you.